Okay, so we're going to do 3.2a. This is the first half of the translation chapter. Translations are actually pretty easy. Because they're easy, there's a lot more algebra that we do with them because there's a lot more algebra that's possible. So about 50% of today is how to draw a reflection. The other 50% is how to write about what you just did. So, translations. Yes, definition translation. A translation is a transformation in a plane, that means flat, that maps all points of a pre-image the same distance and in the same direction. So because the sides and the angles don't change, a translation is a rigid transformation because sides and angles are retained. Okay, so the translation of triangle ABC by x units along the x-axis and y units along the y-axis can be written as capital T for translation, and then the x and the y form what's called a vector. Yes?
I don't think I got this packet.
Same one that we got yesterday. There's extras over there. So your x and your y become a vector. Vector notation are brackets that are pointy. And vector notation tells you how to move the x and how to move the y. So the minute you see vectors, you got to think translation. And then just like for reflection in parentheses, what you're going to, in this case, translate triangle ABC, and then an equal sign, and then on the other side, it's still the same shape because this is rigid, but you give it primes, A prime, B prime, C prime. So let's look at the picture here. We have triangle ABC, and we are going to translate it, which means move it, so that it becomes A prime, B prime, C prime. So we're going to write the rule from the picture. All right, so capital T for translation, then your little vector brackets. Okay, so I usually just pick whichever letter is the easiest to count. So for me to get from A to A prime, I have to go left, -4 units, and then straight down, -6 units. So in the notation, the translation of the x is -4. Negative is always left. Positive is always right. And then straight down in the y direction, -6. For the y, positive is always up, negative is always down. And then the rest of this is pretty easy. It's triangle ABC, which is now mapped to become triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. So you just fill in how far left or right, how far up or down, and you've got it. All right, last bullet. All segments between translated points are congruent and parallel. So you can see in the picture, they've used hatch marks to mark A to A prime, congruent with B to B prime, congruent with C to C prime. All those are the same length. And additionally, you can tell from the picture that they are going to be parallel. So A prime is parallel to B prime, which is parallel to C prime. We have a lot of math we can do with parallel lines. All right, let's do another practice. What translation rule maps ABC onto A prime, B prime, C prime? All right, so translation rule, capital T. So we're going to go pick, and I'm just going to use the A's because they're easy to read. I'm going to do the X first. So from A to A prime, I have to go to the left minus 5. And then now for the y coordinate, from that point I need to go straight up plus 3 to land on the A prime. And to finish the rule, of course, we just translated triangle ABC into triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Now, go ahead and take your straight edge, and I want you to draw a line from each point to its mapped point. So again, from the definition, we know that the slope of A to A prime, line A to A prime, is equal to the slope B to B prime, which is equal to the slope C to C prime. Additionally, though, all three of those translation lines are actually the same length. So we can do a congruency statement. Segment A to A prime is congruent to B to B prime. Just put a dot, dot, dot. All three of them are the same size and the same length. So one of the things you're going to do on your homework is find the slope, and then they will give you a pre-image point with its image point. In reality, because all three segments are the same, you can pick any of them to find slope, whatever is convenient. You can use A and A prime, whatever you want. I'm going to use A and A prime, so you need 2 points to find slope. A is at 2, 3. A prime is at negative 3 up 6. Remember from yesterday, your slope formula, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. It doesn't matter which one you designate, point 1 and point 2. I just go in order. So I make just the first one x1, y1, and the second one x2, y2. I don't use much strategy. I just label them and throw them into the formula carefully. So that would be 6 minus y sub 1, which is 3, over negative 3 for x sub 2, minus 2, which is your x sub 1. You get 3 over negative 5, and of course you never leave a negative monomial on the bottom, so a positive divided by a negative moves it up. Slope of 3/5. All right, example 2. Now that you've found the slope, so this is the question, is using the slope, which is got as negative 3/5, find E prime if point E is the point for negative 1. Okay, so to go from the original point to the new point, you want to use the slope to do it. So remember that your top number is always change in y. The bottom number is always change in x. So you're going to take the 4 from the x and use the change in x amount, which is plus 5. And then for the y coordinate, you're going to use the change in y number, which is minus 3. 4 plus 5 is 9. Negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. So my new point, E prime, is 9 comma negative 4. All right, and there are a couple of those on your homework, so I just wanted to throw one on the notes. All right, turn the page. Okay, example 2. Find the image of a translation. All right, and this is our translation. We're going to translate capital T using the vector -5 in the x, -4 in the y. We're going to translate triangle ABC into triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. Okay, so each of your points, you're going to go left -5. That's your x. And then down -4. So taking A, you're going to go left -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to go down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my new point, A prime, is at 1, 2, 3, -3 to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, +4 up. All right, go ahead and do the other 2 points. I want you to translate B and C using the translation rule. You will know if you're successful because your new figure should have the same size and shape as the original, just moved. So it's kind of self-checking if you're visual. On your homework, be sure to put the original figure and the translated figure. All right, using the rule that we've been given, we're going to do a point-to-point rule. So when you do point-to-point, it's capital T for X comma Y, not in the subscript, and then an arrow to show something's being done. And since this is a translation, it's going to be addition or subtraction on the point-to-point rule. So in this case, it was -5 in the X, so we're going to go X minus 5. And the rule told us -4 for the Y, so it's going to be Y minus 4. So translations are pretty easy to pull right off of the translation rule. All right, that's your point-to-point. All right, we are going to use this rule to find D prime if point D is 9,3. We're going to use the point-to-point rule. All right, point D is 9,3. Use an arrow. So using the rule, I'm going to take the X term minus 5. So 9 minus 5. Using the rule, I'm going to take the Y term minus 4. So 3 minus 4. And the resulting point, which is D prime, is 4, -1. Any questions about how to use the rule? All right, so example 2. We're going to find the slope of the segment D to D prime. And using the D and the D prime that we just found. So D is the point 9, 3. D prime is the point we just found for -1. We want to find the slope in between them. So using your slope formula, which is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And you want to write that formula until you've got it rememorized from last year. Designate your first point x1, y1. Designate your second point x2, y2. And put those values into the formula. So -1 is y sub 2 minus 3 for y sub 1 over 4, which is x sub 2, minus 9, which is x sub 1. That gives us -4 over -5, and a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so 4/5 is my slope. All right, last one, and then we're done with notes today. It's not super long today. Example 3, what are x and y if you're given the translation rule with a translation vector of -1, 5 of the points x, y, which so we don't know the original points, but the result was the point 4, 7. So they've given you an incomplete translation rule because they didn't tell you the beginning point. They only told you the ending point. Okay, so what you want to do for this is pretend that you're actually using the left side to find the resulting point. So what would you do if you were using the left side to find the resulting point? You would say, take my x point, and the vector says -1, and the result would be, in this case, a 4. So original unknown point x -1 resulted in a 4. Beginning y, the vector says +5, resulted in the y coordinate 7. So you just make two little math equations and then solve them. +1 + 1, x equals 5, -5 - 5, y equals 2. So my original point was 5, 2.